Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
It's concerning to have something like this happening so close to home.
The fight continues against a wildfire just north of Squamish as neighbors watch cautiously. Plus,
the city has come to the country.
Big changes are coming to Surrey and Langley as the SkyTrain gets extended. What will the next few years be like?
Being able to get people over on public transit will be a huge bonus for us.
And the clock officially starts ticking until Vancouver hosts matches in the 2026 Men's World Cup. As for the cost and contract,
we've had great lenses on it.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. The wildfire threatening homes near Squamish has grown larger, but crews say improved weather is helping them gain the upper hand. The CBC's Michelle Gomez reports.
There's a sense of cautious optimism here in Brackendale, with crews telling us the wildfire is blowing north up the slope away from houses and other structures. It remains less than half a kilometer away from the community, which is just north of Squamish, and has grown to about 20 hectares, up from 5 yesterday.
We're happy to report that there was minimal growth overnight. Winds are blowing south-southeast, which works in our favor. The District of Squamish, Squamish Nation, BC Wildfire Service are working collaboratively.
200 properties are under evacuation alert as of yesterday. Many locals have been out watching the skies.
I initially saw the fire on Monday evening, so I was actually driving down Tantalus Road and I saw some people kind of getting out of their cars and taking photos. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I looked up and there was just this wall of smoke and some flames just right there.
The general consensus is everyone's really happy with how much they're throwing at it.
This resident temporarily relocated his family as soon as they saw the blaze.
It's definitely a case in preparedness and making sure that if you do have to leave on short notice, you know where all the important things are and where everything is. And it's just scary. It's concerning to have something like this happening so close to home.
There's now a campfire ban in place for the District of Squamish, and district officials are also asking people to steer clear of the area, including hiking trails, and to avoid stopping on the highway. Michelle Gomez, CBC News, Squamish.
Let's bring in Darius Madavi for a look at the weather and what is the latest for Squamish, first of all.
Right, so fire danger remains high right now, but there are some good signs on the horizon. You can see high to extreme across the province. If we zoom in down here to southwestern BC and to Squamish, still moderate to high fire danger across the region. That may start to come down over the next couple days, but for now, that's what we're looking at. Some winds were blowing today from the southwest. That has really been pushing the fire, fortunately, away from the city, but has allowed the fire to grow a little bit. And these are common winds that we're expecting to see. It's really a local feature in Squamish. Hot air rises as the land heats up in the day, and then those winds fill in from the ocean to fill it. So not unexpected and not really something the models would catch. But fortunately, Dan, we have local forecasters with the BC Wildfire Service on the job.
Okay, Darius, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, the countdown has begun. In 1 year, Vancouver will be a host in the Men's World Cup. Renee Lucas has more on the preparations and questions about the price tag.
You hereby proclaim June the 13th, 2025 as Soccer Day in Vancouver.
The clock is literally ticking on Vancouver playing host in the Men's World Cup next June. One of 16 cities across North America, BC Place is set to host 7 matches.
To have the biggest event in the world come to your own city, it's probably no words that really describe that feeling.
It'll come with a hefty price tag, but many locals support the spend.
If we could spend it for Taylor, we can spend it for FIFA.
Yes, there is a lot of money being asked to be invested to make it happen, but then there is some dividend and reward that comes back, and it will be mainly in hospitality especially, and tourism.
The full cost to taxpayers is not yet clear. Last spring, the BC government pegged it at more than $500 million, much higher than earlier projections. The mayor says he can't share details of the contract the city has signed with FIFA, but
we've had great lenses on it, and this is actually a great event where the city, the residents of the city of Vancouver and the region and the province and the country will benefit.
And while organizers are welcoming the world, where's the world going to stay during peak tourism season? A 2023 study by Destination Vancouver found demand for hotel rooms is expected to exceed supply next summer. The agency says Vancouver can handle it.
We're going to see an ebb and flow, people coming in for specific games that they want to see and then ebbing out and then flowing again. But also really about dispersal.
Leaders say travelers should be prepared to stay outside the city.
We know Hello and the BC Ferries, we're looking at them, opportunity for overflow, even all the way to Nanaimo, of course out in the valley.
Herbert says residents wanting to escape the soccer crowds may want to rent out their homes to visitors. Chwin says overall, money can't buy this kind of advertisement.
Potentially this attracts new talent. Potentially this attracts new investment. If it's not here in Vancouver, maybe it's Metro Vancouver, maybe it's somewhere else in the province.
The 2026 Men's World Cup kicks off next June 11th in Mexico City. Renee Lucas, CBC News, Vancouver.
One of the longest debated development projects in this city has been given the green light. As Justin McElroy reports, Vancouver Council has now said yes to 3 towers near Commercial and Broadway.
After years of speculation, Vancouver Council has made its decision.
Mega towers, mega towers, mega towers, mega ha 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 ha.
Yes, the long-debated mega towers, the 3 rental apartments to replace the Safeway at Broadway Commercial SkyTrain station, passed rezoning Tuesday after 2 days of public hearing.
We've been clear that there's a housing crisis in our city, and we're going to create an environment where we can build more housing of all types.
Mayor Ken Sim, along with the rest of his ABC party, supporting the project. Now, many ABC councillors said they didn't quite like the fact that only 10% of the units would be mandated as below market rental. And many of them also said the number of community members who spoke out against the project gave them pause. But in the end, there seemed to be one overriding factor to vote in favor.
There will be no displacement. It is literally on a parking lot.
Because it's a parking lot, because it's rental and not strata, and because it's next to one of the busiest transit hubs in the province, no councillor voted against it, except for one.
I do think that the number of opposed speakers slightly outweighs those who support, and I think there should be at least one vote that reflects those speakers.
Sean Orr voting against the plan, citing the people who showed up to the public hearing, and Councillor Pete Fry also abstaining.
We're not delivering the affordability for people who need it, so I can't give this project my support.
And there are people who feel that way. But in terms of pure politics, it does make things a bit awkward. As ABC councillor Sarah Kirby-Young pointed out, everyone on Sim's team tends to approve these projects, while those against ABC, both on and off council, are a mix of pro and anti-development. It means that putting together a coalition to defeat ABC next election might be tricky, but 16 months is a long time in politics, though not as long as it takes Vancouver to approve a project like this. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
Construction on the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain is well underway, meaning disruptions to traffic and sidewalks, among other things. John Hernandez has more.
Donald Wade plants himself on this sidewalk just about every day to watch construction crews work on the new SkyTrain extension.
It gives me something to do because I'm really fascinated in this kind of stuff because I was in heavy industry.
North Cloverdale and Clayton have historically been rural communities, but the area has grown over the years. Residents like Wade bracing for even more change.
I expect that this is all going to be changed. All these trees will be coming out of here, and this will be heavy residential.
The extension will connect King George Station to Langley City Centre, running along Fraser Highway. Urban rail against the backdrop of farms and ranches. Many of these rural properties being eyed for new developments, to the disapproval of some residents.
The city has come to the country. There's a horse paddock down the hill, there's a bee farm, there's a cow pasture up the hill. SkyTrain's going through all of it, and the noise has arrived.
Noise already brought on by heavy construction that's closed off lanes and led to congestion in the area.
People are complaining a little bit about getting into Honeybee Centre and the amount of traffic on Fraser here.
Cassie Gibbo, whose family owns this bee farm, calls it a necessary pain for long-term gain.
As a small business, a small local business, we're always hoping that it's going to bring in more customers and make us more accessible. Being able to get people over on public transit will be a huge bonus for us.
And with many new housing projects opening up in the area, a growing number of commuters are eager for better transit.
When you work in
in Surrey, right now my wife is driving in along Fraser Highway, so she's dealing with all the headaches right now, but in the end, it's going to help her out.
The project still 4 years away from completion, but already making waves. John Hernandez, CBC News, Surrey.
Police in Surrey say they're looking into whether 2 shootings are linked to possible extortion attempts. As Saurabh Sandhu reports, it comes just months after several incidents across the country that led to an RCMP national task force being set up.
Just over a day after someone shot at this business in Surrey, the bullet hole has been filled. But a few kilometers away, the scene is more dramatic. Bullet holes and shattered glass are still visible.
They shot a banquet hall. They put 7-8 bullets there.
Satish Kumar, who owns this banquet hall, says the next day he received a voice message from an anonymous number.
These guys took the responsibility. They said, we did that.
Kumar says since May 28, he's received similar voice messages demanding he pay a lot of money. He called police that day.
One of the officers just called me. They said, send me recording. I blocked the call.
But just a day later, another business with ties to Kumar was targeted by gunfire, and he received another call from an unknown number. This time, Kumar answered.
They asked him $2 million. I said, I'm not giving nothing to you guys.
Surrey police says it's investigating both shootings.
We understand that the individual connected to the Reflections Banquet Hall had past associations to that business, but again, we have to speak with all of the businesses in that complex in order to rule that out before we can make connections.
Kumar, who is also the president of Lakshmi Narayan Temple in Surrey, organized a public forum in December 2023 after several South Asian businesses were allegedly targeted for extortions. Kumar's son's house was also shot at during that time.
We have no information so far, what they did so far.
BC's Attorney General says she sympathizes with Kumar.
I understand the need for there to be quicker action on this, and of course when investigations are underway, it's inappropriate and really hard for anybody to talk about it publicly because it may compromise the investigation.
But the official opposition has concerns.
Attorney General got a mandate letter, the Solicitor General got a mandate letter, but there is no mention of extortion in any of those mandate letters.
Kumar says he's organizing another public forum this weekend to gather support and push public officials to take more action. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Surrey.
BC Ferries finds itself in some rough waters for its plan for building new ferries. As Katie DeRosa explains, it's where they're being built that's causing concerns.
After announcing its decision to award the contract for 4 new ferries to a Chinese state-owned company, BC Ferries has found itself in choppy waters.
We should be doing everything we can to get it done in BC.
Urging the NDP government to step in and overturn the contract in a country currently involved in a trade war with Canada.
China today is a risk. And the reason why I say that is you never know about the political tensions.
The head of the union that covers BC Ferries workers is also concerned.
Moving this work offshores when we're hearing from the Prime Minister, build, baby, build, and we hear from the Premier, buy BC. I guess I'm the only person who's putting Canada first.
BC Ferries stressing that no Canadian company bid on the contract and that China Merchants Industry Weihai Shipyards ticked a lot of boxes.
This shipyard has given us the best combination of good experience, technical capability, size and scale, safety management, affordability, and confidence that they can deliver the ships that we need on the schedule that we require.
BC-based Seaspan said in a statement they're busy building ships for the Royal Canadian Navy and the Canadian Coast Guard at its North Vancouver shipyard. But the American-owned company says it is hopeful it can work with the BC government on a strategy to build future BC Ferries replacement vessels. McNeely, though, says Canadian companies cannot compete with Chinese shipbuilders who receive state subsidies and have cheaper labor costs.
Canadian yards here, Seaspan included, they weren't passed over because they can't do the work. They're passed over because the rules are rigged.
BC's transportation minister says BC Ferries made a business decision, and it's not one the BC government can interfere with.
Am I disappointed that it's not here in BC? Absolutely.
BC Ferries isn't saying how much the contract cost, saying it could compromise future bids. The 4 new ferries are expected to set sail between 2029 and 2031. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
A legendary flying machine will show you a plane full of history in BC. A rare plane is spending the summer at the airport in Vanderhoof. It harkens to a time when bush pilots flew people, cargo, even horses through northern Canada. The CBC's Catherine Hansen takes us on board the Balanka air cruiser.
People just keep stopping by and asking questions and looking, so it's very unique. It's so popular. It's something that hasn't been seen before up here for 80 years.
It's the last of its kind, known to still be flying. The 1938 Balanka air cruiser is spending the summer at the Vanderhoof Airport. The plane is owned by the Erickson Aircraft Collection out of Oregon, and at the controls is Glenn Pierce, a retired Air Canada pilot with over 55 years of experience.
Very old technology. It's made out of wood. On the wings is fabric, basically cotton, that's doped over and painted. It's very light, and this airplane could basically carry its own weight. I can trim the airplane to go nose down.
Pierce recently flew the plane from Oregon to Vanderhoof. To prepare, he landed the plane on water for the first time in 60 years. The whole time using only a map and compass to guide him. like bush pilots did in the past, before GPS.
You can fly an airplane without an airspeed indicator. This instrument's very important. That's a turn and bank, they call it, so you can tell whether the wings are level. An airplane that's stable, you should be able to let go of that and it'll hold its attitude. And this will help you adjust the pressure on the flight controls.
The single-engine plane has a unique design and comes with a rich history. It was easily identified by its characteristic W appearance. It was built to land on wheels, floats, and even skis.
It's airplanes like this that actually opened up the north. Prior to these airplanes, it was an awful long haul to get anything up to the northern communities.
Pierce will fly the Belenka to several different northern locations through the summer, and plans are being made to show it off to the public this September in Vanderhoof, along with a trip to the Fort St. John Air Show.
I feel it's an honor, and it gives you a new respect of what those pilots back in the 30s and 40s were dealing with.
In Vanderhoof, Catherine Hansen, CBC News.
Summer on the Lower Mainland and other parts of BC can mean a lot of people hitting the outdoors to hike, swim, and camp. But those activities are not always accessible for people with autism or other neurodiversities. Miriam Gamar now on a tool to remove those barriers.
Everything you need in a backpack. That's what Vancouver's North Shore Tourism Association is offering on loan to help neurodiverse people enjoy the outdoors, which can bring challenges like crowds, noise, and unpredictable weather.
I think it's going to open up a world of opportunities, for lack of better words, for people to get out and explore.
Every kit includes noise-reducing headphones for kids and earplugs for adults, a pouch of toys to help with sensory regulation, rain gear, and a guide highlighting neurodiverse-friendly outdoor activities. It's a resource one parent says helps her decide where to take her son.
For me, what was most important was the list of locations that are sensory friendly, places where you feel like you can go and not have to dive through the challenges that exist for parents of and families that have neurodivergent or sensory issues in them.
Some of the locations on the guide include the Lynn Valley Ecology Center and the Maplewood Farm Petting Zoo.
This backpack program provides real, practical support, and just as importantly, it sends a powerful message. You are welcome here.
While the program is intended for people in the North Vancouver area, organizers hope to be an example for accessibility initiatives elsewhere.
When someone copies you, it's the biggest form of flattery, and we're really hoping so for something like this, that more and more communities and maybe across the province or across Canada, that these types of initiatives will expand and grow.
Also included in the backpack, a lanyard decorated with sunflowers. It's a symbol meant to signify that not all disabilities are visible.
Sometimes needs aren't as easily seen or shown or told. Some people don't know how to express those needs.
Those hoping to borrow a backpack can pick one up from the Museum of North Vancouver for up to 15 days at a time. Miriam Gamar, CBC News, Vancouver.
The Squamish chief, where smoke from wildfires has been blanketing the sky over Brackendale. Your BC-wide forecast is coming up next. There may be some movement on a potential trade agreement between Canada and the U.S. Sources tell CBC News negotiators from both countries are working off the same outline. But they also warn there is still a lot of work ahead. More now from Katie Simpson.
Negotiations between Canada and the U.S. have gotten to a point that a document outlining a potential agreement has been shared back and forth by officials in Ottawa and Washington. That is, according to 3 sources with direct knowledge of the information. Prime Minister Mark Carney and President Donald Trump will ultimately be the ones making final decisions. Those sources say a deal is not imminent. More work needs to be done, and they are not expecting an agreement before the G7 summit in Alberta next week. We have learned more about what's in this document, though. According to one source, it includes a commitment from Canada to participate in the Golden Dome missile defense strategy. That is a controversial proposal from U.S. President Donald Trump that could cost hundreds of billions of dollars and take years to develop. It also highlights Canada's recent commitment to meeting its NATO defense spending targets, Canada's plan to make further security investments in the Arctic, and previously announced measures to highlight border security. Canada is pushing for tariff relief from the Americans, but what the Trump administration is willing to commit to at this point remains unclear. There are a wide range of tariffs imposed on Canadian goods, though there are also carve-outs and exceptions in some cases. The biggest challenge right now is the higher tariff just imposed on both steel and aluminum. Most U.S. trading partners are now facing a 50% tariff, and that's not something Trump appears to be willing to back away from anytime soon. The talks, I am told, are making progress, but one thing to keep in mind is that Canadian officials are dealing with the Trump administration, which has been preoccupied by protests in Los Angeles and trade negotiations with China. And making things even more complicated, of course, is that the president himself is unpredictable. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
The province is making a push to bring more healthcare workers to BC, officially launching an ad campaign last week targeting professionals in Washington, Oregon, and California.
More news from Washington today. New data reveals why.
If you want to care for others in a place that cares about you, come to BC.
BC has been making it easier for American-trained doctors and nurses to have their credentials recognized here, a process that now just takes a few days to complete. The government says those professionals will be able to work in a variety of settings, including in primary care. For more, we're joined by an American doctor who moved with his family to Vancouver Island before the BC government's recruitment campaign was launched. Dr. Rob Beck, an internist at Royal Jubilee Hospital. Dr. Beck, we understand you moved your family here from Nashville in 2020. What prompted that move?
Well, thank you for having me on, Dan. So what prompted the move is we just needed to change. I think that all doctors can take a look at a situation and critically and objectively evaluate it and see if things are working, and if things are not working, you need to be able to make a change. There were lots of problems that were going on with job satisfaction. Unfortunately, after COVID hit, we had a lot of patients that started accusing us of defrauding death certificates so that we could make the administration look bad, refusing vaccines, and just really becoming very confrontational and very polarized. The violence in the United States was quite bad, and my wife and I were very concerned about that. I had been in a mass shooting with my son, or with both of my sons, and it really affected the way that I felt about things. And there were multiple shootings all over Nashville, and 2 of my son's classmates were murdered in about 16-month period from the time before we left until just right after we moved here. And we just decided that we needed to make a change.
When you came here, was there something that stood out to you in the system, the public system that you started working in here in BC?
Yeah, so when we came, certainly there was a crisis and everybody was looking for doctors, and it has gotten worse now, but the system is actually quite familiar for those who have worked in a VA healthcare system in the United States. It's very similar, and while timelines are a little bit longer than what we were accustomed to, it honestly, the outcomes are fantastic, the colleagues are fantastic, and the patients are great and very appreciative. And this is very much an easy system to work within.
Now we know that the BC government is on this recruiting campaign. What do you think of that campaign? Is it painting too rosy a picture of a system that, as you said, does have its challenges?
I don't know of any system that is perfect and doesn't have its challenges. I don't think that it's painting too rosy of a picture. I think that if you're like me, spent decades trying to help people and help patients, this is the place to do it. The biggest problem, I think, facing the government right now and facing the healthcare system, at least in British Columbia, is lack of staff. And if we were able to recruit more US trained physicians, I think it would make a very big difference here in the lives of the physicians and the healthcare providers here, as well as the quality of life for the patients and the care of the patients.
And lastly, we appreciate your time. What would be your sales pitch to somebody working in the U.S. and the healthcare system there to come to BC?
Well, quality of life, safety, and honestly, it is very, very easy. There is not much administrative burden here when you compare this to the United States healthcare system. The taxes really end up being about the same or even a little bit less. And I think that the safety issue for us has made a very, very big difference.
Dr. Rob Beck, internist at Royal Jubilee Hospital, we appreciate your time and your expertise. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
As wildfires threaten their communities, some Canadians are deciding to defy evacuation orders and fight flames themselves. Why they make that tough decision to stay behind after this. Many of the wildfires burning through Canada's forests are threatening homes, businesses, and cabins. But some people are ignoring evacuation orders and staying behind to protect their properties from the flames. Aaron Collins spoke with some of them in Saskatchewan.
It's the kind of view worth fighting for. And at Lower Fishing Lake this spring, that's just what happened. Like many parts of northern Saskatchewan, this park under threat from fast-moving wildfires. On the ground, a group of locals staying behind, digging in to beat back the flames.
When things got close to home here, it was all hands on deck to come here and save the cabin.
We're still fighting here. It's right at Rangers Beach now.
A handful of men fighting a wall of fire.
Dad and I, and then 3 other cabin owners, Rick, Lenny, and Greg.
The blaze just a stone's throw from their cabins, history repeating itself. This family fought a similar fire along the same road nearly 50 years ago.
Grandpa's been gone for quite a few years, and Dad said, you know, I feel okay, I feel Grandpa here. Like, he was with Dad fighting it in 77, and he said, Grandpa's helping us out too.
There were losses in this firefight. A forest scorched, the local hall gone, but every cabin saved.
A lot of people would probably ask you, why did you do this?
Yeah, get that question a lot. I guess it's just for the decades and decades of memories that are in these places, all these cabins. It's like a family in here, I feel. Like it's, yeah, everybody's got each other's back, and if we weren't able to be here, I know that other people would have come up.
The fire that came through here, just one of hundreds burning across Canada.
There's places in northern Ontario, northern Alberta, northern BC, all burning right now. And you hear of all the other locals that are sticking around. So it's not just us. There's so many people right now that are fighting for their own houses and their own communities and forests.
But for now, this fight is over. This place safe. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Lower Fishing Lake, Saskatchewan.
The weather update is brought to you by BC Cancer Foundation. Support BC Cancer Foundation by leaving a gift in your will and join our 90-year legacy of driving life-saving innovations.
Darius Madavi is here with our BC-wide weather forecast. Let's go back to Squamish, and what's the latest there?
Yes, so we've got the fire perimeter here. As you can see, we saw some growth today once again. I believe the latest is 20 hectares. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan. But if we zoom out here, I want to talk a little bit about the situation. So you can see a few showers coming in. I did just check the 20.2 hectares right before I came up, so it should be right. We can see the precipitation coming in. Not as many showers as we would like to see, but there are a few scattered showers that are expected to be moving through the region tomorrow. Probably won't have too much of an impact. What is more exciting is the fact that temperatures are coming down and humidity is coming up at the same time. That is some good news for the fire, although tomorrow we may see some of those winds again. They won't be as bad because those temperatures are coming down. It's those high temperatures over land that drive those winds, southwesterly winds into the city. Overnight, we may see some winds blowing from the northeast instead, which would be not an ideal situation because that would be blowing towards Squamish, but ideally we won't see too much damage there. I know BC Wildfire Service is not too concerned, although they're keeping a close eye on it. They're also keeping a close eye on the thunderstorms that are happening in the southern and central interior. A lot of those strikes happening in the southeast. Today, that is a lot of lightning that is not coming with much precipitation. Tomorrow, more thunderstorms are expected, but there will likely be more rain coming along with those thunderstorms. So that should be a bit of a better situation for most places. But up in the northeast, we may see some thunderstorms and some rain very consistently in areas that really need it. We have a serious drought situation up here. Not too heavy most of the time, pretty consistent for about 24, maybe 48 hours even. But it is coming to an area that is very severely stricken by drought up in the Peace region, a level 4 drought there. That means the soil cannot really absorb that water very well, and it may run off. Authorities are concerned about erosion and potential landslides up there. There is a high stream flow advisory for much of the interior as that moisture moves in. Again, largely because of the ongoing drought conditions in much of the region. So Dawson Creek, I know, is warning residents to be prepared for that eventuality. But some showers also coming to the southern interior, which will be a little bit better news because drought conditions there, not quite as bad. Across the board, we're looking at some smoke, heavy smoke up in the northeast, a few thunderstorms tomorrow across the board. In terms of a 5-day forecast, Dan, mainly cloudy tomorrow, and then we start to see some mixed skies, so some showers are possible. And lastly, I just want to show this great photo of a halo out in Victoria. Look at that. That is a related phenomenon to a rainbow, but whereas a rainbow is light passing through raindrops, this is ice crystals in those cirrus clouds high up in the atmosphere. So thank you, Adele, for sending us the picture.
No kidding. Well done, Adele. Thanks, Darius.
Thank you.
BC has launched a program that aims to help keep renters who face eviction in their homes. Ottawa is looking to do something similar nationally. But as Lindsay Duncombe explains, while some tenants may like the program, critics believe it doesn't address the main issue fueling the crisis.
Many renters across Canada live in fear.
It was scary because we didn't know what's going to happen with the building. Maybe we'll lose the apartment.
As corporations buy up older buildings,
I'm so sorry.
anxiety grows for families living in them.
You're worried about being on the street?
Yeah.
British Columbia is spending public money to help save buildings, keep rents low.
This is a homelessness prevention tool as much as anything else.
Critics say it's a waste, getting in the way of building new homes the country so desperately needs.
It's a terrible idea. It's better to take the money and throw it in the ocean.
In many Canadian neighborhoods, there are buildings like this, located in Burnaby. 41 homes right where the suburbs meet the city of Vancouver. Built in 1970, the building is showing its age. But the people who live here care about the place. There's community. I'm here to meet two mothers living one floor apart.
Hi, Marlene.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm Lindsay, CBC News.
Marlene Ozuna Felix has lived in this one-bedroom apartment for 8 years.
This is our little living room here.
She receives income assistance and is on a wait list for subsidized housing.
There are 3 children?
3 kids, yes.
Her kids are 9, 8, and just 7 months.
Where do they sleep?
They all sleep with me.
Yes.
I only have a 1-bedroom. As you can see, everything is so
cozy.
cramped up, yes. So we could just come out here.
The baby is sleeping, so we go to the patio.
How much do you pay for rent now?
It's $9.36.
$9.36 for a 1-bedroom apartment in Vancouver.
Yeah.
You can't find that if you look online.
I have to stay here. This is right now what I can afford.
In fact, the average rent for a 1-bedroom in Burnaby is more than $2,300 a month. And it's not just BC that's expensive. Check out how fast rent has gone up in the past 5 years. In 2020, the national average for a 1-bedroom was just over $1,500 a month. Now, it's more than $2,200. When Felix's building was sold, she worried the new landlords would try to find ways to evict lower-paying tenants so they could charge more rent, or even demolish the building to make way for a new, higher tower.
My biggest fear is to be on the street with my kids, right? Because this is pretty much the only place I have that I can afford right now.
So you were worried about being homeless?
I try not to think about it, but I'm sorry. Try not to. Because I have 3 kids, right? I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry.
Just upstairs, more anxiety. Eliona Schutte, her husband, and their baby share this 1-room apartment. He's an electrician. She's on maternity leave.
And sleeping.
Yeah, he's sleeping.
How old?
It's 3 months and a half.
They pay just over $1,000 a month in rent.
It's such a small space, but it's great.
It's small, but it's enough.
So tell me about the building being up for sale. What was that like?
It was scary because we didn't know what's going to happen with the building. Maybe we'll lose the apartment.
What would you have done?
I just don't want to think about it.
Eviction rules vary from community to community, but the fear of having to pay higher rent is real. Just look at what happened to affordable housing across the country from 2011 to 2021. 550,000 units gone. And that doesn't even include units lost in the last 4 years as Canada's population grew.
We were losing 4 to 5 affordable units for every 1 new unit that we were building. The most affordable housing we have is the affordable housing we've already got.
Enter British Columbia's Rental Protection Fund. Katie Mazalechko is the CEO.
Nonprofits come to the fund and they first have to pre-qualify with us. They're able to access our funding that provides them with the investment that they need to still secure a mortgage, but keep the rents where they are so that they can stay affordable.
Here's how it works. Back in 2023, British Columbia announced it was getting back into the affordable housing business to the tune of $500 million.
This fund is going to preserve affordable housing for renters across BC for many years to come.
But it wasn't buying buildings or becoming a landlord. Instead, nonprofit corporations could apply for taxpayer money they wouldn't have to pay back, all so that nonprofit corporations could buy older buildings and operate them with conditions, maintain the buildings, and keep rents low so people can stay.
It's the teachers and nurses and people that make our communities run, but are so often left behind by everything else out there. You know, they do often make a little bit too much to qualify for subsidized housing, and you also see that with folks on a pension.
In 2022, nonprofits in British Columbia accounted for just 2% of multifamily purchases in BC. That's gone way up. Last year, because of the fund, nonprofits had purchased 1/3 of those properties.
Right across the province, every corner.
Each building marked with the painting on the wall at the fund's downtown Vancouver office.
We were in that one right there. Amazing.
Yeah. That's right. That Burnaby building was purchased by the nonprofit organization Aunt Leah's Properties. The low rent stays.
I came to my husband and I was like, hey, listen, this is not for profit. It means that our rent's not gonna go up or they're not gonna evict us, right? So it's such a relief for us. It was the best feeling ever. I mean, that's perfect. You know, there's a lot of people like me, even worse than me. I mean, not everybody can afford housing.
But there's a catch. Not everyone thinks it's a good idea to use government money to save affordable rental units, because money that's used to buy older, smaller buildings like this is money that's not being used to build more and build up.
It's counterproductive because its stated purpose is to actually make sure we build less.
Andrei Pavlov is an economist with the Siegel School of Business.
This kind of fund and these ideas to protect rental buildings, they sound good on paper because you can see people who live there and you obviously don't want to disrupt them. But then the cost of that is that everyone else who is trying and wants to live in that area, they really can't because we're not building enough.
He points to this Coquitlam apartment building, one of the first purchased by BC's Rental Protection Fund. It's near public transit, an area zoned for high-rises.
It's nice, it's functional, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's a 4-story building in a place that should have really 40-story buildings.
As for displacing renters, Pavlov says the communities should follow some jurisdictions, such as the City of Vancouver, that mandate compensation and relocation for people who lose their homes.
That would be a good use for a rental protection fund, so protect the renters.
But for Mashalenko, that is the waste of money. The building costs more than preserving.
You are spending significant dollars, not like just in the capital costs alone to construct something new, but then to subsidize it to $1,000. You're spending significant public money year over year over year.
This is an important debate because the new federal government has promised to directly invest in building new homes.
Build, baby, build.
And has also promised a fund that looks very similar to what's happening in BC. The Federal Rental Protection Fund promises $1 billion in low-interest loans for nonprofits and close to $500 million in grants. The first applications were due last month.
what's happening is that if you don't mind the
When
gap,
it comes to affordable housing, Simon Fraser University's Andy Yan says the problem started decades ago when the federal government stopped building and turned the vast majority of the industry to the private sector.
you've allowed housing to become an asset, to become a hyper asset. Their business models is to extract the highest amount of rents as possible.
From your perspective, is it sort of like then the government let the private industry take over and now they can't rein it in?
It's not only allowing private industry to take over, but how it became an accomplice, how governments have become an accomplice in this housing system that serves a particular population of investors who are able to get in the game early.
So it's working for the rich and the lucky.
He sees rental protection funds as part of the solution, but perhaps not a game changer.
You need policies that both conserve housing that's both affordable and livable, and then also the need to build housing. But I think in building that housing, it's how that housing needs to meet the needs of those you're trying to house.
For the people living in the Burnaby building, there is relief these days.
This is our home. Wherever we go, it's like, Mom, I want to go home. I love it here. This is the place that I made my little bundle of home.
It makes me feel safe. I know that I have a place where I can sleep and I can rest my feet.
In fact, when Shuti and her husband learned they could stay in their studio, they decided to start their family.
So if you hadn't had this place at this price, you wouldn't have had Zion?
No.
For a handful of families in a handful of buildings, the future isn't quite as scary because they get to stay home.
He produced some of the most popular songs of the past century. We remember Beach Boy Brian Wilson after the break.
I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC inbox.
Check out CBC News BC, your local streaming channel. It's a free ad-supported TV channel available 24/7, delivering breaking news, weather updates, daily headlines, and sharing stories that matter to British Columbians. Stream your favorite CBC programs like The Early Edition, BC Today, and On the Coast. CBC News BC is available on connected TV platforms.
The creative force behind the Beach Boys has died.
Brian Wilson was considered one of the world's most influential composers and recording artists. Wilson wrote and arranged hits such as Good Vibrations and California Girls. He was the last of the three musical brothers who became world ambassadors for California's surf and sun lifestyle. The group's harmonies, melodies, and complicated arrangements also inspired the Beatles.
Wilson's last public appearance was just over a year ago. He had been living with dementia. Brian Wilson was 82.
BC Parks has closed the Rebel Creek Trail to Garibaldi Lake after 2 cougars were spotted in the area showing aggressive behavior on Sunday and Monday.
BC Wildlife Federation says while the Wildcats could be protecting a kill site, it's not enough for them to remain close to people.
Normal behavior would be, especially that close, would be a cougar moving off fairly quickly, even if there is a kill site. Like cougars tend to get bumped off of kill sites by bears. They get bumped off of kill sites by wolves.
BC Park says conservation officers escorted campers and hikers to safety and remain in the area to monitor cougar activity.
Ever seen a cougar in the wild?
I don't think so. No. Have you?
Not yet, but we have so many videos. Yeah, keep your distance.
It's gonna happen. Yeah.
There you go.
Bears, though. Bears are a different story. Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6.
We'll have your next local news at 11 o'clock, right after the National. Good night.